Hello, I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes going over the instructions for the files that were sent to you via email. And before I start, just want to quickly note that the email screenshots in this video are taken from Outlook. So if you have Gmail, Yahoo, or another email provider, the location of the attachments are obviously going to be different. So despite the differences, the process will still be the same for what you need to do with the files. So at a minimum, 4 files would have been sent to you, and the maximum amount could vary. It's possible to have as many as 6 or maybe even more files than that. And regardless of the amount of files, you'll want to be sure to download and save each file to your computer. So since the returns were sent via email, we password protect each file. An email that contains the password will be sent to you right around the time the instruction email was sent. So in order to open a file, you'll need to double click on the attachment you wish to open, and when clicked, you'll be prompted to enter the password. After entering the password, click OK, and then you'll have access to your file. And then we do recommend that you save this file to your computer. So next I want to go over each file that was sent to you, and again, at least 4 files will be included, and those 4 files would be the client file, federal tax file, Form W-7, and the Line 6D instructions. So the client file contains the federal return, supporting statements and schedules, and if applicable, any state returns. And you'll want to use this file for your own review. And then if you encounter any inaccuracies, please notify us so we can make the correction. The last thing you want to do is to sign and send a tax return to the taxing authority if a return is not accurate. What we'll need to do is we'll need to update the return and then send you a new copy of that return so you can file it. And then we recommend that you keep a copy of this file for your records. So the federal tax file is the return you'll need to print, sign, and mail to the IRS. And I want to go over 2 pages of this file, and that would be the instruction page and the signature page. The instruction page will be the very first page of the federal file, and here's where you'll find the due date, forms to be filed, address to mail the file, any payment or refund due, and the transaction method. And the transaction method will just give you instructions of how to pay any balance due if you owe, how you'll receive a refund if a refund is due to you, and notify you that no payment or refund is due if neither apply. If you do want to pay by check or money order, a voucher will be included in your file, in your federal file. And this is the second page of Form 1040 NR, and here's where the taxpayer will need to sign and date. The taxpayer is the individual who is listed first on the return, so in this example, John is the taxpayer. So when signed, be sure to mail all pages in the file to the address on the instruction page, and please continue to watch for further instructions on additional forms that will have to be mailed along with this file. So Form W-7 is an application to receive a unique identification number from the IRS. This form will need to be sent along with the federal tax file. And here is what Form W-7 looks like. And here's where you'll need to sign, date, and write in your phone number. If both you and your spouse are applying for an ITIN, there will be a form for each individual. You may also notice that line 6D is incomplete. And the reason for this is that you'll need to send documentation along with this form and the federal tax file that will verify your identity. So you'll need to complete this section based on which documentation you choose to verify your identity. So again, just to emphasize, this section needs to be completed by you, and it's all just based on which documentation you decide to send, and that will lead us to our next file. That next file would be the Line 6D instructions. So this file is taken directly from the Form W-7 instructions. This provides guidance on what type of documentation the IRS will accept as proof of your identity. So once you get the proper documentation together, you will need to send this documentation to the IRS along with the federal file and Form W-7. So again, don't forget to complete line 6D of Form W-7 before sending. So another form you may receive is a state file. In this video, I'm going to use a Utah state tax return as an example. So like the federal file, the state file will also have an instruction page on the very first page. You will find the due date, forms to be filed, any payment or refund due to you, address to mail the file, and the transaction method. So you will also need to sign the return before mailing. And for the state of Utah, the taxpayer signs and dates here. And if you're filing a joint return with your spouse, the spouse will sign and date here. Other states will have similar requirements to this. And when signed, be sure to mail all pages in the file to the address on the instruction page. So another form that you may receive is an estimated tax payment voucher. So here's an example of a voucher. These are payments that are made for the current tax year. They're not to be confused with the vouchers that were prepared for you to pay your current tax bill of the return that we just prepared. So I want to emphasize that these are not installment payments for your tax bill. These are actually payments that will be applied to your next year's tax return. So you can have federal estimated tax payments such as the one shown here, or you could have state estimated tax payments or vouchers included, and that just all depends on the state. So there can be up to 4 vouchers, so pay close attention to each due date. The instructions for filing are listed here, and the due date is listed here. And if you are mailing payments, be sure to detach here and mail the voucher along with payment. So in conclusion, you'll need to send the federal tax file, Form W-7, and the necessary documentation from line 6D to the address on the instruction page of the federal tax file. Also, if required, you will need to mail the signed state tax return to the address on the instruction page of the state file. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you.